للثلث الضامن الذي ضمن حماية العراق من الفوضى، حماية العراق من عودة التمحورات.
Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Talk about having egg on your face. Yes, courtesy of Nader. He posted that, and I couldn't help it. I had to steal it. It was funny. Anyways, there's some interesting shakeups happening over in Iraq. I think the reality of what might happen has definitely changed the minds of some politicians. Is it possible that Sadr and his deputies can be reinstated? That would be interesting. Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, go check out our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. Nader also posted this little interesting video. I've heard these rumors already myself, that a bunch of gurus were claiming that the new ATMs are coming out with the lower denominations. And sure enough, the ATM machines are out, and Nader made a video about it. Let's hear what he has to say about the lower denominations.
Alright people, there's the ATM, and you can read. Everybody's talking about the new ATMs. They've been installed, yes. And yesterday morning I was at the bank, and I said, listen, maybe like they said, you know, new ATMs, it's gonna be a new category. That's correct? That's what I said to you. They're gonna put, this is how they said it exactly. They install new ATMs, and guess what's in it? Small categories. Well, not this morning. I took some money from it, and it's the same money.
The same money.
It's the 25, and the 10, and the 5. Thousands, of course.
So there you have it. I've heard these rumors from these guys for a long time. There's a new ATM. The ATM machines now have the lower denominations. Blah, 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 blah. The same crap they've been lying to you guys for decades now. Anyway, so the new ATM machines are there. No, they do not have the lower denominations. Not yet anyways. You heard Nader. They had the 25, the 10, and the 5,000 dinars. The same that they have now. The Minister of Finance issues 2 important directives to the Al Rashid and industrial banks. Basically, what they want to do is try to get as many people enrolled into banking as possible. I saw an article that was similar to this, but it was in regards to Africa. They were going to do everything they can to get as many people enrolled into banking as possible. The reason for this, in order for the central bank digital currency to be successful, everybody has to be enrolled into banking one way or another. So they're pushing everybody to get enrolled so they can start making this implementation of the central bank digital currency. So Iraq finally repays its $1.6 billion in gas debt to Iran. This is awesome because now the gas can come from Iran, and the gas is used in the electric generators that supply power to the Iraqi people, especially during the hot months. But not only that, if you are trying to run a business in Iraq, you definitely need a power, obviously, to be productive. I know a lot of you are asking me, I don't get it, Pimpy, if they have so much oil, how come they don't have gas? Well, most likely they don't have a refinery there is what I'm guessing. But that is a good question. It says the central bank issuing letters of guarantee worth 9.3 trillion dinars. It says here the assistant director of the banking department said in a synopsis that the platform for letters of guarantee since its inception until the end of the year 2021 has issued more than 30,704 letters of guarantee, with a total of more than 9.3 trillion dinars. The platform for letters of guarantee plays an important role in regulating contractual issues between beneficiaries and customers, and protects the government agencies and the private sector from companies reluctant to implement projects, and it also increases the banking sector's revenues. Remember, the biggest issue they had with the previous corrupt government is all these friends of theirs would get bank loans to do projects. And they either didn't do the work at all, or they did part of the work and didn't do the rest and kept the money, is what happened. So this is just the banks making sure that they found a way to prevent that from happening in the future. As you can see right here, it says the platform has limited corruption and illegal procedures and facilitated the beneficiaries' access to the platform without any complexity, as beneficiaries and ministries can verify letters of guarantee by entering the platform electronically. So that's exactly what they needed. Yep, and I got this one sent to me. Yeah, this article. Everybody's like, Pimpy, the exchange rate has to go up. Look at oil prices. It has to go up. We'll cover that here in a moment. $180 a barrel. Expectations of a big jump in oil prices. The price of oil and the demand are going up. But I want you to think about something. As gas prices continue to go up, up, and up, less people are going to be driving. Our trucks that deliver our supplies, the diesel is too expensive. People are quitting their jobs as a truck delivery person because they can't afford the fuel. So what's happening is the price of gas is getting to a point where it's too expensive for people to drive. They just can't afford it. It's costing Americans $5,000 extra dollars per year to pay for the cost of gas as it currently sits. So less driving, less traveling, not to mention supply trucks are not going to be able to afford bringing our supplies. I keep telling you guys, this is all part of a bigger agenda. Food processing plants being burnt down, and you could go look it up. And last year we had all the lumber yards being burnt down for some reason. Geez, so you can't rebuild. You see, if you burn down all the lumber yards, then you go burn down all the food processing plants, there's a huge delay. Because first the lumber people have to rebuild their place and then turn around and go out there and rebuild these food processing plants. Now, I'm not saying it stopped it completely, but it definitely has put a severe lag in our food supply. So be prepared for that. So no, people are not going to be able to afford gas after a while. Not at all. Then you're not going to be able to afford to go to jobs. Then you're not going to have employment. Then you're going to be begging for the universal basic income, which comes on a central bank digital currency. I do think we'll get to a point that's around $180 a barrel, if not more. But eventually it's going to come slamming down, only because people cannot afford to drive. Oh, this is really interesting. An initiative by the President of the Republic to support framework to restore the Sodarist movement to the political process. So there's an initiative being put forward to restore Sodar and his deputies back to their previous positions. You see, Sodar leaving the political forum is a disaster for the Iranian-backed politicians. This is just going to make the people hate them even more. Remember, they rose up against these politicians in 2019. I think that there are people within the coordination framework who are recognizing this, mainly Amir, who wants to bring Sodar back, which is against what it is that Maliki wants. So there is some tension within the coordination framework. Maliki doesn't want Sodar nor his people anywhere around because they're going to open up crypt files against Maliki. And Amari wants Sodar back. To me, this was a power move by Sodar. One, it just increased his popularity. I said I thought he was a man of the people. And when he resigned, he said to get out of the way of the political blockage so that the government can be formed and the people can get the things they need the most. That looked like a serious self-sacrifice, and it really reflected well amongst the Iraqi people. The other one is it puts Sodar in a real powerful position. Because you see, he is not part of the political process no more, which means he could take this fight to the streets. I know me and Nader went back and forth about the possibility of a civil war. I do think it's really hard for a civil war to take place. But this is what I was talking about with this type of thing happening. It's very possible. We don't want that to happen, of course, but it's very possible. Over the next couple of months, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in Iraq. Said a source close to the President of the Republic, Saleh, revealed on Tuesday the imminent launch of an initiative aimed at ending the political crisis and returning the leader of the Sodarist movement to the political process after withdrawing from it. A source said to the media that the initiative is being pursued by the President of the Republic, Saleh, after Sadr announced his withdrawal directly, and the President received the signs of response from the political parties, especially from the coordination framework. And he indicated that Saleh's goal in the new initiative is to return the leader of the Sadrist movement to the political process after withdrawing from it. Saleh held a meeting with the Prime Minister Al-Kadhimi and the President of the Supreme Judicial Council, Zedin, and the second meeting also brought Zedin together with the head of the Al-Fatah Alliance, which is Amari. Yeah, I think they understand the ramifications of this. It can get really intense over there in Iraq because you can anticipate a huge uprising, in my opinion. Is that these developments come after the leader of the Sadrist movement expelled his deputies from parliament in a move that was considered a leap into the unknown and an increase of the Iraqi political ambiguity for the next stage. Ahana explodes as a surprise, and expected move may change the position of Sadr. So this is just another one of the articles talking about there's a movement to bring Sadr back to the political process. Said here, according to the information received by the news, there is an expected meeting that will be held between the leader of the Democratic Party, Barzani, and the leader of the Sovereignty Alliance, Halabasi and Kanjar, and certain recommendations or decisions may emerge from it, which may change Sadr's position towards the political process, especially if it is positive and in line with the requirements of the stage in forming a strong government away from consensual. So the article goes on to say that a big part of this has to do with whether or not Sadr will come back. I would imagine this puts Sadr in a strong position of power, and he is going to have some serious demands that must be met. So there's a rift going on between the Qamari, who wants to bring Sadr and his people back, and you have Maliki, who doesn't want that to happen at all. So there's some tensions there. Here's another one of those articles that you guys send to me and go, see, Pimpy, there's no doubt the Iraqi exchange rate is going to change. Look at this. The increase in Iraq's oil financial revenues to more than $5.5 billion on an annual basis. Now, that's not any small chunk of change. That's a pretty big jump in revenue. How much of a jump? How about 93.27%? That is huge. So there is a lot more money coming into Iraq, but if they don't get the right government in there, it's going to be disastrous. I really do believe that. As far as changing the exchange rate just because they're getting more money from revenue, I've done plenty of videos saying there's more than just revenue that must be taken in consideration. But since we're talking about the revenues, we'll cover that here in just a moment. This is what I was talking about, disagreement within the coordination framework. Maliki with the exclusion of Sadr and Amari opposition. It says an informed source revealed on Tuesday that a dispute had occurred within the most prominent leaders of the coordination framework on the issue of withdrawal of the Sadrist movement. The source told the news that a dispute is focused between the heads of the State of Law Coalition, Maliki, and the head of the Al-Fatah Alliance, Amari, on the position of the framework as a whole regarding al-Sadr's recent position. Maliki sees accepting the Sadr's position by withdrawing from the political process and not working on their return. But Amari disagrees with this opinion and is trying hard to bring them back again, and is behind the issue of sending the delegation to Ahana to discourage Sadr from withdrawing. The source pointed out that Amir believes that the government will not succeed without the presence and support of Sadr, unlike Maliki. And regarding the coordination framework meeting yesterday, in which he announced his official position on Sadr's withdrawal, the source said Amari was very late in participating in the meeting, and the two statements of the coordination framework were specifically from Maliki, in which Amari did not participate in his opinion. So that's why they met with the leader of the Judicial Council. I'm sure they're trying to figure out what are the legal paths they can take to restore Sadr and his deputies. So one of the things I was saying, the possibility of a civil war. I don't want a civil war there, but you've seen me responding to Nader's video. Nader was expressing that it's not that easy. I agree, it isn't that easy, but it is very possible, especially when you see this type of stuff. Iraq's most powerful politician has just caused a tectonic shift. Yeah, I would say so. After 8 months of political paralysis, the kingmaker of Iraqi politics has ordered his bloc to withdraw from parliament. The step down of the Shiite Muslim cleric Sadr entire group of 73 lawmakers is the largest shakeup in Iraq's politics since an October election saw Iranian-backed Shiite blocs losing seats to the Sadrists. The Sadrists now appear to have stepped back from parliamentary politics. This is a tectonic shift, and it threatens to derail the post-2003 political order in its entirety. In a handwritten statement, Sadr said that his request for his lawmakers to resign was a sacrifice from me for the country and the people to rid them of the unknown destiny. Yeah, I'm sure he knew that this was what was going to happen, that people would be upset about this. A fellow from the Century Foundation think tank said that this has changed the political discourse. The cleric is immensely popular in Iraq. For years, he has positioned himself against both Iran and the United States, and in October emerged as the biggest winner in the parliamentary election that threatened to sideline Iran-aligned Shiite blocs that have long dominated the oil-rich country's politics. But politics has since been in a stalemate as bickering and accusations of corruptions have stalled the presidential election and hindered the formation of the government. Now remember when Sadr made this statement, it said that the Sadrist bloc remaining in parliament is an obstacle to the government formation, then all lawmakers of the bloc are honorably ready to resign from parliament. And that's exactly what they did. This will redistribute 73 parliamentary seats amongst various political blocs. Of course, what it is the next highest vote getter are the ones that replace the seats. It goes on to say, so is Sadr giving in to Iranian-backed groups, or is this simply an attempt to showcase his power in the streets where he has tremendous influence? Analysts say it is likely the latter of the two. Sadr's secret weapon is his vast grassroots network of supporters and dominance on the streets. The withdrawal of the Sadr's MPs is a signal of the intent to confront his rivals on the streets. This is why I think civil war is a possibility. Now, the person who wrote this article, I don't think in a statement they meant, moving into civil war. I'm just saying merely that's always a possibility. We skip down here. It says Sadr may be signaling to his supporters that he has done all he can to try and form a government with his Iranian-aligned Shiite rivals. The move may also be a threat to other parties, showing them that they cannot do without him. The cleric's influence is far from diminished. Sadr will continue in the direction of popular opposition. I think this will double his political power. Double his political power. And this is why I think people are really concerned about that. Analysts say that the sidelining of Sadr and his party from government will result in chaos, and that any government born out of Sadr's isolation will be a dead one. This will lead to anger from Iraqis and from Sadr supporters. They will not agree to see the leader politically broken or isolated. So there's no doubt the next few weeks are definitely going to be interesting to see what happens in Iraq. So is Sadr ready to take this to the streets? Is he ready to take the battle to these Iranian-backed politicians? Man, I hope there is no civil war. Yeah, I do agree with Nader that civil war is not likely, but it's still a possibility. You let me know what you think yourself. Okay, one other thing I want to bring to your attention that you're not going to like. Everybody keeps sending me articles about the increase in the oil revenues. I get it. That's awesome. That's great for Iraq. This will allow them to build the public and private sectors. They will have alternative ways to gain revenue outside of oil, and they won't be so reliant on oil to pay for their budgets. This is what we want. But we're far from being where it needs to be. Just a couple years ago, the amount of Iraqi dinars in circulation was 54 trillion. 54 trillion Iraqi dinars. That has more than doubled since then. We are looking at 114 trillion dinars. More than doubled just over the last couple of years. So even if Iraq wanted to go 1 for 1 with the US dollar, They don't have $114 trillion. The real question is, if you want to get a realistic idea, if it's possible at all, is to find out how much dinar is in the hands of speculators. A good portion of that money is going to be in banks, financial institutions, private entities. But in order for them to make a realistic exchange, you want to know what's in the hands of the speculators. It seems to me like countries everywhere are just ridiculously printing money like there's no tomorrow, which also decreases the values of their currency. Think supply demand. If you have a ton of a currency, then it loses its value. See how that works? Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll catch you later. I'm out.